All right, guys, good morning, good afternoon to you, and good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to Ask AZ. So, new series of sessions. We are now doing live Ask AZ. These are going to be available on both on my YouTube and podcast episodes. So that's great. People can have access to them. Just a reminder that these Ask AZ sessions, in case someone's new to these, this is a live coaching for me to support anyone who is on their journey and they're currently listening to the content that I release on YouTube, which is the Limitless program, followed on by the Truth Bumps. So lots of Truth Bumps being released on YouTube. Another one just got released this week. I think it was on purpose. So lots of different topics. And I make myself available to be able to answer any questions, support, and just discuss what's happening in your life post or during while absorbing these content that I release. Anyway, welcome everybody, and let's see where we're at. So let's kick it off with any questions, any comments, any contributions. What's been happening in your world this week? What's unfolding? Yes, Dominique. Just got to unmute yourself when you're ready.
There we go.
How are you?
Hi, good, thanks. Very well. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
I just wanted to ask one question. I was watching one of the episodes you did with Christina when you were talking about the changes and the groups changing that you do and everything. And I just wanted to ask, from my journey that I'm going on, I know I wrote a book, and then I've developed a whole lot of material, and I do coaching with that and groups and all my individual patients and whatnot. And one of the days I had this sort of inspirational download walking on the beach that I must develop the 6-week program, which I have done, and it took quite a lot of work, and I did the whole thing, and it's really gone well, and I've done it with a lot of people. But
amazing.
I'm not comfortable with the traditional way of advertising, and where you do these mass emails and blah, blah, people, just the way that traditional advertising goes, that there's a more authentic way of doing it these days. And I don't think people buy the old way. So it didn't sit well with me. But that being said, your meditation says is nothing to do, nowhere to be, and nothing to figure out. And I often catch myself sometimes, like, I know the feeling and I know I want to do it just because I love serving and helping, and I don't need to do it. But at the same time, I feel like, how do you know the line between, I know you've got to get comfortable with that, the fabric of life is uncertainty. So you've got to give up the need to know, what's next. But how do you know the line between not trying to make it happen, where I'm not, and at the same time, or are you missing an opportunity? So I could be sitting with someone quite influential, and then you think, should I have mentioned the 6-week journey? Like, how do you get the next group after this group ends? Should I have gone and phoned someone I know influential and tried to make it happen? Or I knew that person because I was supposed to use that person, and now I'm all up in my head about it. Now, am I keeping quiet, in which means I'm losing an opportunity? Or how do you know? Like, how do you know how the next thing happens?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, my first point is, how did you know when you just launched this program and you said people signed up? Like, how did that all happen? Was that the traditional marketing way, which you're feeling uncomfortable in doing? Did that happen that way, or was that more?
I did a free masterclass 1-hour session, which I prepped really hard for, like, not prepped really hard, but I did like an authentic, real session for free. Lots of people, about 100 people came. It went really well. And then from that, a couple of people signed up, and it was great. We had a group.
Okay. Well, to answer your question, Yeah, it's a good question. It's like, where do you draw the line, or where is the line between, this is what I feel to do, this is what I love to do, to this is what I should do, or this is what I need to do. And it's hard to sometimes define the line, but it's easy if to be able to see where that is coming from. I always say it's not what we say, or what we do, it's the space it's coming from. I teach people in becoming coaches, and the biggest thing I teach in that is the space that you're holding for someone. So it's all about the space. It's even when it comes to doing what we love, we think it's what we do that we love, but if you were to actually observe what's happening, it's not what you love that you do, it's who you become when you do that. I love doing this. And what is this? It's coaching, supporting people. I love flying planes, right? But it's not the flying planes or coaching and supporting people. It's who I become. And who I become in those moments is the greatest version of myself. It's the version of myself that I'm here to articulate, to express, to share, to become. So it really it comes down to, who is doing the marketing. It comes down to who is doing the offering. And again, by when I say who, it's that space that it comes from. Now, there is a part of you that I refer to as the drop of the ocean, or the identity, and the identity, or you can call it ego. All right, just so we can put it all in the same compartment here, right? It is always looking to do something in order to survive, in order to exist. So its attention is always on the result. Okay, it's like, well, we need to fill up this event. We need to, and it needs to be profitable, and whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever, let's say, category that you have for your results, and then there's a part of you that is not concerned about the result. It's purely like, I really love this, and of course, this part of you is not ignited. It's not lit if you're not doing what you love to do, right? But even in cases where you're not doing what you love to do, you can still be who you love to be in that, and that's a different conversation. But there's a part of you that's lit, and it's doing what it loves purely because it loves it. And that's the thing when I talk about love, the real love that I continuously refer to, doesn't have reasons. It doesn't have an agenda. It's not doing or being what it's being or doing in order to get somewhere. It's doing or being that because of where it's at, because of where it's coming from. So if you think about, when you truly love, like the closest thing that I experience the real love in the physical world is the love that I have with my children. That's, and there's no reason, like it's like sure, I want my children to do well, but whether they do well in my eyes or not, there's no reason not to love them. I still love them. Like the love for them is present no matter what happens. So there's a part of you that does what it loves no matter what. It's not concerned about the result. Now, the funny thing is, it's not funny, it's enlightening when you see it. The amazing thing here is that when you're doing something because you absolutely love it, and you're not focused on the results seem to take care of themselves. And it's before you know it, you're focusing on your delivery, on your journey, on your process, depending on what we're talking about here. And as you're focusing on your process, the future, if you like, the results get created from this moment. When you're doing what you absolutely love to and you're on your journey in this moment, the results get created from there. But when you're doing what you're doing right now and your attention is on the result, right, you seem to suffocate the part of you that's doing what it's doing because it absolutely loves to. So that whole mantra, Dominique, there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out. And yes, I've put that into a guided meditation because, you really need to, say that to yourself until actually, because the amazing thing is if you actually say to yourself right now, there's nowhere to be, and you create a time right now, nowhere to be, and you say yourself that statement, not as an affirmation, but as a statement of truth. Right now, there's nowhere to be. And you then realize that truth immediately. Anyone who actually says and acknowledges that there's nowhere to be, you start to feel this expansiveness. You start to feel this space. Who feels that when they say that? There's nowhere to be. Okay? And again, if you don't, it's because you're trying to tell yourself there's nowhere to be, but there is a part of you that has its attention on where it needs to be. So it becomes an affirmation. That's why this is not an affirmation, it's a mantra. A mantra is a realization of the truth. You're repeating something that is true. It's a fact, if you like, even, but it's true. And when you realize it's true, there's an acknowledgement of that, and you experience that. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do. When you say there's nothing to do, immediately, again, some people are drilled to be doing. Like they feel their existence in being really busy. And so when you say there's nothing to do, that might make that person feel a little bit uncomfortable. They will feel discomfort. What do you mean there's nothing to do? I've got a to-do list, and it's important for me to have a to-do list because I find my identity and who I am in the to-do list. Well, that's not going to, that will make you feel some discomfort. And that's why doing this work along with these calls and, things like these tools that I'm sharing with you, which is a mantra, it's important for you to do the work because the work is allowing you to realize who you are when you do stop. Because you won't stop until you start to acknowledge and connect to who you really are. We are continuously creating a busy life because we don't know who we are, and that's why we don't want to stop, because we are avoiding the void, the emptiness. The ego sees the identity, if you like, sees the emptiness, which is really infinity, sees the emptiness as a void, as though something's missing. Anyway, I'm not answering your question there, but just dropping some few things there. So, look, I can tell you, Dominique, where I'm at. I've been in this industry for many years. I'm now 45. I started, my young early 20s, and I've been speaking for majority of that time, and I can tell you that it's I don't know. But I think it's $1 trillion industry or $1 billion. It's very big industry. This self-development industry, and in my experience, it's always, you're always trying to put bums on seats. So these days, it's not bums on seats because everything's online, but you're always trying to sell. You're always, it's and nothing wrong with that. If you've got something to sell, awesome. But I think it's wonderful when, I got tired of that game, which is kind of, you're already there, Dominic. You're like, I don't want to do you call it the traditional marketing. What's the traditional marketing? Well, the traditional marketing is finding people who would buy something from you and then selling them. You find the appropriate clients. You find the people that would buy. What do you call that? It's a client that is. I don't even know right now. I've lost my whole marketing thing anymore. I don't even do it. But you find somebody that would buy, and then you make sure you sell them, right? That's the traditional way. But and I'm no marketing expert, but to me, I got bored of that. I got tired of that. I call that cause and effect. In our world, there is lots of things that are, the matrix is cause and effect. You do this, you put this input in, and then it will give you this result. You don't do this, you don't get that input, you don't get that result. So, and some people like that because they're like, well, just tell me what I got to do to get that result. But to me, that's a prison. It's like I got to do something. It's all out of survival. You do this. You put blood, sweat, and tears. You work really hard, and you get this result. You don't work really hard, you don't get that result. You have your goals. If you don't have your goals, you won't attain them. Now, I beg to differ. Is it really about putting blood, sweat, and tears? Don't get me wrong. I feel it is about being absolutely committed to what you're doing. But the whole blood, sweat, and tears comes from struggle street. It comes from a place that's not enough. I'm not enough, so therefore I need to push. I need to put blood. I need to put sweat and tears into this, so I feel like I'm enough. If I'm not doing enough work, I don't feel like I'm enough, so I don't feel deserving. So that's where the whole put your blood, sweat, and tears come from. But how many times in your life has something happened and it was absolutely effortless? Absolutely effortless, and this might have not even been a goal for you. And if you can't relate to this in your everyday life, think about when you fell in love, or when you realized that you loved your children, or see if you can shine, look through the eyes of love. Right? Where, has there been anything in your life where you didn't even try? Beginner's luck. You didn't even try. And it was effortless. It happened. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you didn't do anything. You were participating in what was happening. It's like beginner's luck. You were participating, whatever it is that you were doing. Right? But it's like something came through you. And if you can relate to that, or if you can identify something in your life, my question to you is well, how did that happen? Something where you do that you're in a flow state. I don't think I need to identify what a flow state is. It's like whatever you do, it's becoming effortless. it's like you don't have to push. In fact, it feels like it's not you that's doing it. It feels like something is moving you to do that. So when I ask that question, often people find difficult to find the moment where something happened and it was effortless. Because for such a long time, they've been pushing to make things happen, that even if there was a moment where something, happened effortlessly, the moment it happened effortlessly, they were like, oh, and this is why we lose the beginner's luck as soon as it happens. Oh, look at this. This happened effortlessly. I didn't try before. Well, let me try now. That wasn't even my goal. Well, maybe this is what I can do now. Let me make it into a goal. You see? So even if you have experienced those moments where it's been effortless, where it's kind of just, it's landed in your lap. Again, by landing in your lap, it didn't land on your lap, and I want to be clear about this. It didn't land on your lap and you had your hands, you were sitting on your hands. You were doing something. You were participating. But through your participation, through your connection with what you were doing, it landed for you. So, I mein, your question that you ask is exactly what I'm actually doing. I mean, watch and observe. It's exactly. I got tired of playing the push game. I got tired of, even though there might be a push, but I was doing what I loved. So I was like, oh well, I'm doing what I love, so it's okay. But even that got tiring. Like, I'm doing what I love, but I didn't want to. I just got tired of the cause and effect. You put this input in and you need to do level 10 of this input, or if you do level 5 of this input, the result will be this much. It's I don't have any rules around it now. I do what I feel to do. These calls that I'm doing right now, I'm doing it because I feel to do it. And they evolve, someone who's been part of these Ask AZ calls since earlier this year, you're seeing it evolve. And you think to yourself, but they evolve in the moment. It was only last week I was doing this call and the call was so awesome. And I was just like, you know what, everyone who's on this call, I'm going to give you a copy of the recording because I want you to go back and listen to this. And then I was just like, well, why don't I just give it to the whole database? Why am I holding it back? And then I'm like, what? This is the way, the next day I had a recording with Christina. We're going to do a podcast. And some of the things that I'm discussing in these calls are the most relatable. They're very relatable. I'm talking to a real person. They're asking questions that are really relatable. So Christina would go and watch what questions are being asked here. So then she can come and ask me on a podcast. So we can deliver on a podcast. So I rock up to the podcast. Christina, I think she went and listened to Anna. Anna asked the question. We thought it was a really good question. So she was going to re-ask me that question so I can deliver it as a podcast. So I show up to the podcast, and as I'm preparing all the cameras and all that, and I thought, why are we recreating it? Why don't I just take the recording from the Ask AZ and put it on the podcast? It's just, there's a plan unfolding, but I'm not making the plan. And it's the same. And it's the same with the marketing. I'm doing what I feel to. I'm doing what I feel inspired to. I should have spoken to that person, or did you feel to speak to that person? No, but I should have, because that person is the person that's going to lead me to this. That's cause and effect. That's what I call cause and effect. That's the matrix. If that person, forget about, see, this is the thing, the interesting thing. The identity puts its attention. This is a really important part. The identity, the ego, puts its attention on the results. And it looks at how I can manipulate to get to that result, and by manipulation, sometimes it's manipulating yourself to work really hard. I worked 15 hours last week or yesterday. Last week, that's actually pretty good. I didn't. I'm just giving you a reference point. And you manipulate yourself, you push yourself, and some people, manipulate the results, or they do both. How can I get this person to do this person? And even if you meet the right person, you're trying to get them to, hey, this is what I do, and there's an agenda with your communication with that person, trying to get them to connect you with the right person. It's all manipulation. I always say you're either manifesting or you're manipulating. If you don't know how you're manifesting, you're manipulating. You're manipulating your circumstances. You're manipulating how people see you. You're manipulating yourself and how hard you should be working, or and all that stuff. And you manipulate others. There's a difference between inspiring others versus manipulating others. So that's what the ego does. Now, the part of you that that you connect to when there's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out, it sees the result and it makes a decision that it's done. You see, it realizes, it drops in, and you go, I love to be in a relationship, right? Or I love to do this business, since we're talking about this business with Dominic right now. This is what I love. But you don't look for that. You open yourself for that to drop in. The whole point of nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish, nothing to figure out, it's to get the little you, which is the identity, out of the way. Let's just get out of and that's why it's the moment someone says that and they acknowledge it and they actually realize it, and that actually drops in, that there is nowhere to be, that right now there's nothing to do. Right now there's nothing to figure out. The moment that's why you feel all this expansiveness, because you're actually dropping into the greatest version of you, if you like. The big you, I refer to. The ocean rather than the drop. And in that, it drops in. I love to do this. Back in January, it just dropped in. I'd love to put all my products out for free. No more. All my content, I'm just going to put it out. I've got all this content, and it's all part of my coaching programs, and I'm just going to. Yeah, but you see, that's what dropped in. All right. Now, if I refer to cause and effect, it would be, well, you can't do that, because if you do that, then people won't pay you. And how are you going to make money? And you see, that's cause and effect. My decision is that's what I feel to do. Right. And if we can go back to your question, you think to yourself, this is what I love. And you decide that is what is going to happen. Now, I know that's easier said than done, because, again, what stops you from making a decision, and this is what I refer to as the wholehearted decision. I'm actually talking about this in the Manifest program. So anyone who's in the Manifest program right now, you'll relate to this. But the reason that most people cannot make a decision is because they refer to the cause and effect, and they go, well, that's not possible. Because in order for that to happen, I need to do marketing. I need to have this much money. I need to have this knowledge, which is true in cause and effect. But when I'm making a decision, I'm not making a decision in cause and effect. I'm not making a decision for cause and effect. I'm making a decision, a wholehearted decision, based on what I love. I make that decision, and then it's done. When you know you made that decision because you don't think about it anymore. When you haven't made a decision and you're you know, the feeling that you get when you make a wholehearted decision is that it's done. And you don't, it's funny, in that moment, when you feel like something's done, or sometimes someone may feel like something's happening. This is what, I know this is happening, right? And you have a knowing, and you call it's your intuition, premonition, whatever you call it, right? The moment you feel like it's done, you're not interested why it's done anymore. Have you noticed? Like when you make a wholehearted decision, not a half-hearted. You know what a half-hearted decision is? Half-hearted decision is it's half heart and half head. It doesn't matter if it's 95% heart and 5% head. The moment it's 5% head, it's now into cause and effect. It's in the matrix. It's got to be 100% heart, right? All I can tell you is you have all experienced that when something is being 100% heart. Don't get me wrong, the head comes into play here. It's not like we disregard the head. It comes into play, but it doesn't come into play when making that decision. Okay? Again, if there's 5% head, it's like, well, it's good money. Well, it will get me to the next part. It's part of your manipulation. Well, maybe then I'll meet this person. Maybe, well, I don't really want to work with this person, but they know so many people. But maybe I've got to do that in order to get there. You see, it's that 5% that holds you back. When I make a decision, 100% purely on what I feel, right? I'm not interested. And again, you will relate to this because when you've made those decisions, and sometimes sometimes those decisions have just dropped in for you. Like when you realize you love someone, you didn't make that decision. You don't decide. I always say this: you don't decide to love your children. You realize that you love them. But because to decide implies that you had a choice. You didn't have a choice. You love them, right? So when it comes to what it is that you absolutely love, it's a 100% decision. And anytime you've experienced anything like that, you have no concern about how it's going to happen. Call it, sometimes it's an intuition. It's not even a decision you've made. You're like, I know this is going to happen. I know. I've just got a bad vibe about this person. I just know. How do you know? I don't know. I just know. All right. You're not concerned about how you know. You're not concerned about how it's going to happen. All you know is that that's what's going to happen. Right? So then from there, once you've made a wholehearted decision, and that's half the battle, to be honest. To get a person that I'm working with to the point where they're making wholehearted decisions. Because I'll be honest, not many people are making wholehearted decisions, even if they think they are. Because, like I said, if it's 97% heart, 3% head, it's still half-hearted, right? It's got to be 100% heart. But I'll tell you why most people can't make a wholehearted decision. Because the power is not in that decision, because they've put the power into the matrix. Their power is in the cause and effect. So anytime that you go to make a decision that you absolutely love, there's a part of you that goes, but I can't. Why? Well, I don't have the money. Who said you needed money? Well, you need money for that to happen. Oh, yeah, okay. Therefore, no wholehearted decision gets made. Guys, I'm not bullshitting you. This is how I do things. This is how I live. But I won't bullshit you either. It's not over a few weeks or a few months that you're going to get to a point where you're making a wholehearted decision. Unless you're a little bit crazy, then maybe you can. But most of us have power in the story. And the story is cause and effect. The story is matrix. And the story says that in order for you to start that business, you need that investor and this much money. Now, I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying you're acknowledging that over the decision to actually do that. Because for me, when I make a decision to do that, and this is what I say, I decide to do that, the story then bends. The marketing the way I want to do it, Dominique, then comes to me, right? If there's money that's required, it will be bent in the story. It might be bent from the people who are receiving my service. It might come another way. I don't care where it comes from. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like for example, I've got a retreat coming up in 6 weeks in America. I love to do that. I'm doing that. The decision's made. I'm going to be in America. That's a very expensive project, Dominique. Just to fly to the US, my flights cost me $12,000. The venue. We won't talk about how much I got a really nice venue this time. Nice venue, like it's like pools, ice baths. It's got all the bells and whistles. Like it's not the normal venue I get it's a very expensive venue. So in the marketing model, you need this many people, right, in order for that to be paid. I don't do that, not anymore. I make my decision and again, I kind of hold myself back giving this, it's not advice for you. This is what I do. It doesn't mean doesn't mean you should do it and doesn't mean you're ready to do it. I'll be honest. Okay. I'll tell you a story after this. I'll tell you really quickly now and I'll come back to the retreat. I remember there was a point I got to in my life where, I was really struggling. Like this is one of the darkest period of my life. Brokenhearted from a relationship, financially, like I was living in a friend's garage on the Northern Beaches. Northern Beaches is a nice area in Sydney, but it was in his garage, couldn't afford anything. And anyway, I cried myself to sleep most nights. It was a really dark period of my life. This was a very long time ago. And anyway, I did a lot of work on myself and, I was doing a lot of, being really real with myself, authentic, surrendering, releasing stuff. I was doing what I felt to do. I wasn't going, anyway. I got to a place where I made a decision. And I'm like, because before living in my friend's garage, I was living with my girlfriend in a very nice, prestigious apartment in Sydney. And she kicked me out because I wasn't bringing any money. She basically broke up with me and kicked her out of the house. That's what happened. It was the best thing she did. But I was on a commission-only job. I was bringing no money. I wasn't, I was a failure, if you like, in the story. And, when she kicked me out, I went and lived in my friend's garage and I think I was paying him like $50 or $70 a week. I got to a place that got myself through that period. And I just got to this point where I went, I'm moving back in the city. And I really enjoyed that prestigious apartment that we lived in the city. I want something exactly the same. And I got to a point of making that decision. And true story, the fucking story just bent. Like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, I think I was a little bit cray-cray. In Australia we say cray-cray means crazy. I think I was a little bit crazy because I don't know if I can make a decision like that now. I probably can. I should give myself a little bit more credit. But, sometimes I look at what I did when I was younger and I'm like, how did I make that decision? But long story short, I made a decision that this is what's happening. You see, Dominique, I didn't make a decision that I need to make more sales so I can have more money, so I can go back living in that city lifestyle. I made a decision. I'm moving back in. And I found an apartment, and I think back then it was like $515 a week. That's equivalent to a few $1,000s, probably a couple $1,000 now. It was a long time ago. So and I didn't have the money, but I decided that I'm moving in there, and it was a huge process for me. It was a huge process, but the story bent. And I went from making no money to suddenly within weeks, I started making thousands of dollars, like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month. Like everything changed, right? And I shared this story with a friend of mine. I'm like, oh man, you're not going to believe it. And I really learned, you just got to make a decision. It's all about a decision. Here I am, all this time twiddling my thumbs, trying to make money. I didn't try to work harder here. I just made a decision, and then suddenly people started buying from me. Suddenly, I was selling a business programs back then. I had a job. It was a commission only job. And he's like, oh, and he got so inspired by it, and he was on this path, so he kind of really got what I'm saying. So next thing I knew, he went and made a decision. And he goes, oh, I've moved down the road from you. And by the way, I moved into an apartment in a hotel. It's called the Swiss Hotel, if anyone knows that, in Sydney. And I had city views. I could order a room service in my apartment because I was part of a hotel. So it was a very, I was, the funny thing is, I got back to where I was with it, but before I was leaning on my girlfriend. My girlfriend at the time came back to me after that. Anyway, that's not any relevance to this. More than my girlfriend came back to me. Other women were coming. My whole relationship thing changed. My whole financial thing changed. Point of the story is my friend then saw this and he's like, oh my God, he's totally shifted his reality. And he went and made a decision. He go, oh, I've got an apartment down the road from you. I'm across the road. I'm like, oh wow, really? What happened? Did you sell your business? No, I just made a decision. 3 months later, he was kicked out because he couldn't pay his rent. So I share that story with you because you can't fake this. It's not a fake it till you make it thing. You can't fake the wholehearted decision. And you'll know when you've made a wholehearted decision or when you're at a place that you can make a wholehearted decision. But I promise you guys, everything I've done in the last 15, 20 years, any major thing, any major accomplishment, right, has come from that wholehearted decision. It is not, I need this much money in order for me to buy these planes and to buy this business. It was, I'm having this business. I am going to own an aviation business. I am owning a plane. I didn't have the money for the plane. I'm telling you the truth for myself, but I also give you a reference of my friend who went, oh yeah, well, I'm going to do that too. Not everyone can do it. I'll be honest. I'm telling you what it is, but at the same time, I don't want to make this woo-woo for you. At the same time, I'm telling you, not everyone can do it. Yet, if your next question is, well, how can I get to the point of doing that? Well, it's how can you be completely honest? How can you stop fucking bullshitting yourself? Because that's the point I got to. I'm tired of pushing these buttons to get these results. Did I come here to push this button, then push that button? Now you're at a higher level, you push this button, and that button, all those buttons is the cogs in the matrix. It's cause and effect. So, I'm giving this talk to you this from your question, Dominique, but there's different layers of this, and it's probably worth going back and re-listening to it at the same time, observe what I'm doing. So this is what I was talking about the retreat. I'm doing a retreat. If we don't get a certain amount of numbers, we won't have enough money to pay for the retreat. Right? So to me, I make a decision that I'm doing the retreat. Those numbers or the money that is required to pay the venue and all that kind of stuff will come from wherever it comes from. Sometimes it might come from the actual retreat. Sometimes it won't. It will come from somewhere else. But and this happens for a lot of people. But what happens is, let me give you an example. I did an event in Los Angeles, same time last year. It was about July last year. And it was the Limitless event. Was anyone there at the Limitless event in LA last year? Oh, there you go. Kelly was there. Yep, a few people there. So when I did that event, Kelly, there was thousands of dollars that we need to pay for venue, and again, flights coming to America, and all that kind of stuff. And in the story, we didn't even come close to selling enough tickets to pay for all that, right? Now, I have a choice. Am I going to America? Or do I pull the pin, right? A month out, 2 months out, I'm like, do I cancel this event? I can easily cancel it and just refund everybody their tickets, and I'll still lose money because you've got to pay for the venues and all that, and flights you can get a refund potentially. But my question is, I changed the question from do I cancel this event to do I feel to go to this and deliver this event? And the answer was, yeah, I do. Not because I don't want to cancel it because I'll be a failure or no. Do I feel to go? No reason. Don't look for the reasons. I do feel to go because I don't want to seem like I failed. I don't want to, no. Do you feel to go because you feel to go? Yes. Okay, well, we're going to the event. So we went to the event. We rocked up. It was very obvious that I'm going to lose thousands of dollars at this event because we didn't sell enough tickets, Dominique, right? But when I got to the event, about a month, I forgot about this part, about a month before I was coming to the event, there was somebody who heard I was coming to the event and they said, hey, I'm running a corporate event. It was a entrepreneurial event. Would you like to speak at that event? I heard you coming to America. Because you're coming to America, would you be able to come and speak at this event? It was in Denver. And I said, yeah, this is my fee. $10,000 is my fee. Okay, we can't do 10,000. We can do, our budget is 7,000. Okay, I'll take 7,000 US. Great. That got booked in. Then I'm at the event and I had somebody come up to me during the break and went, hey, it would be good to get you to speak for my company. I'd love my company, And I'm like, well, I'm here next week still. Where's your company? In Houston. Well, I do first class. You've booked the flights. This is my fee. I'm happy to come out. You can come out next week. Let me see if I can put this together. Gave her the same fee, paid for my first class flights, traveled there and came and do you understand? So suddenly money bent or the opportunities came from a different place. So suddenly, but you see what happens normally as a business person, you go, well, this event was a failure. But the event wasn't a failure. I didn't get all the other jobs. The other jobs I got purely because I was doing that event. Do you understand? So I don't put pressure or limitation and go. I won't lie right now. The way we're going right now, my retreat's next month. At the way it is right now, it's a loss. It will lose money because there's not enough people going to that retreat. which somewhat surprised me. I thought, hey, first time I'm going to America, I've got so many people in America, like surely they're going to sign up, but they didn't, right? Doesn't bother me. I'm still doing the retreat. And I know, even if it is a loss, it comes from different places. Just to give you an example. So I'm not so driven, and that's what the traditional marketing comes in, because you're like, we got to get the result here. You know, the end result, Dominique, is for me to go, I love to travel. I've got lots of friends in America. I've got lots of clients in America, and I'm going. I'm going because I love it. It always bends. It always works out for me, right? But just like everyone else, just the same as everyone else, if I look at it through the view of the matrix, it looks like it's not going to work out. In fact, it looks like I should back right away, because not only is it not going to work out, it's not working out. Just like everyone else, I have the same view if I look through the view of traditional, I don't know, I call it cause and effect. But if I was to take that off and go, but what do I feel here? How do I truly feel? Well, you know what? I never even felt to do this event. Okay, we'll cancel it. No, you know what? I feel to do this. Okay, go. That's the way I operate. Is that scary for some people? Maybe, but I've had a lot of experience doing that way. I don't know if I answered your question in this. I just looked at the time. Holy shit. Dominique, talk to me. Like, did I just spin some plates and confuse you more, or what's happened? Where have you landed for that?
Very helpful. Yeah, no, I think that's what I needed to hear. And also just to hear from your experience that it is just that leaning into it, even though it's scary, and trusting the feeling more than anything else, and not listening to that voice in your head. So, yeah.
Yeah. Trust yourself, back yourself. You know, you got to trust that feeling, and you got to back yourself, and you got to be very honest with yourself. That's what will get you to not become woo-woo. Oh, well, I'll make a decision. You know, I've had someone who once said, I'm coming to your retreat. Great. And I said, have you booked your flights? Because they hadn't paid for the retreat yet. So I was like, well, have you booked your flights? And they go, oh, I haven't booked my flights. I'm just going to show up at the airport. I'm like, oh, sweetheart, like, it's not the way. Well, I'm just deciding, and I'm just going to show up. You know, at the same time, I want to kind of just point out, like, yes, this is a possibility. What I'm talking to you guys about is a possibility, right? I know that firsthand, because this is the way I live. This is the way I walk my talk. But at the same time, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to realize who's deciding. If it's the identity deciding, walls are not going to be moved. You know, the story is not going to bend. You will be bending around the story, which is what I call you'll be manipulating. It's, you know, this whole work is to get people to connect with the truth of who they are, and then to then operate from there, operate from that place. And I mean, do you think the part of you that truly is infinite? I know there's this identity here, you know, I am Dominique, I am Amir, whatever. I mean, I know that part's finite, because it was born, it will die. But from time to time, you connect to a part of yourself, you know, and you might have an affiliation or a connection with that part, and you might have a name for that part. You know, I just call it the big you. That from time to time you connect to that part, and suddenly everything's possible. The trick is to learn to operate from that part. The trick is to become that part, not to connect to that part, but to realize that you are the part. Now, tell me, that part of you, whatever name you have for it, do you think it's concerned about traditional marketing? Yeah, so that's the thing. Do you think it needs to have all its goals and it needs to push and grind? Maybe you need to push and grind to realize that part. Yes, maybe. Maybe you need to fall over and over and again to realize that part. People always say to me, you've heard the statement, love is free. Love is free. And I've always gone, well, it isn't and it isn't. And people go, why? Well, what do you mean it isn't? Well, I believe it is. But in order for you to realize that real love and that it's free, you need to pay. You need to pay by falling over. You need to pay by getting rejected and realizing what love is not. You need to pay by experiencing the absence of that love. You're paying, motherfucker. You're paying somehow. Yes, it's free. But for you to experience the freedom, or for you to realize that like really realize it's free, you're paying. So yeah. Thanks, Dominic. Let's let's see where that lands. I'd love to pick it up again, maybe next week or the following weeks. I'll be here, same time, and just I know where you're at. I'm exactly where you're at. I was there 6 months ago, and I just was like, I'm done playing. I don't do any marketing now. I have stopped doing marketing. We stopped doing social media advertising. I only want to work with someone who's found their way to this, and you're thinking to yourself, well, but Amir, but no one's paying you. No, I have a lot of clients who pay me. Some clients see that when they pay me, it's a complete different service. And I don't need any of you to convert into those clients. I'm here for you wherever you are in your life. So don't worry about me. I'm good. My business is good. There's some people who do pay. And you might think, well, why would they pay? Why don't they just join us here? It's free. No, it's a different service. It's different. And only those who pay know that. So, I'm okay. It's all good. Thank you, Dominic. Heather, how are you? Good to see you on these calls.
Hi, good to see you. I've been deep in my own doing this, but everything you're talking about, when you really dropped in, it reminded me of when I used to work with celebrities. So I worked for a few years with A-list musicians, and they are these people. They live it. They are not concerned with results. They do what they love. And it comes from a place of screw it, right? Like, just go, just do, because a lot of what they do, they don't, okay, maybe they need to earn money. Will they earn money? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But they have this place of living in that. And it really tapped in, because when I worked with them, I have that in me too. I do that. I went to New York. I did all these things that other people thought were crazy, and I had to do it. I loved it, but I wasn't at their level. I wasn't like, whoa. And I looked at them and I thought they're crazy. and that's, I think a lot of people, you think about celebrities, most people don't see them on a day-to-day basis. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there, because there are, whether you're a celebrity or not, there are people who do live this way. And a lot of people can't quite understand. You think, well, why don't they think about the results? Some of them have money and some of them don't. That's the thing, is you don't know their bank account situation. You don't know. They could be a drop away from being broke, even if they're very famous. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that on their bank account side. And so it is like a feeling of just bravery. Like, just, if you get stuck in the thinking about stuff, then you stop stop. You stop the momentum. And so when I just kind of wanted to put it out there, I think that's totally right. And I don't know if that drops in for anybody, but that it's very strange for, I think, most of us who are used to worrying about those things, like, the day-to-day stuff. How am I going to pay for this? What am I going to do? It's not like you don't need those things and you don't have to do those things. But almost like that's not the most important thing, right? I think that's what you're saying. And I'm just kind of thinking about it in different words. And it's very exciting to remember that and tap back in because it is more important. Like, it's important to live and be safe and healthy, but when you worry about it and you're scared, it does stop that momentum, right? So I feel what Dominique was saying, because I also have been launching businesses and hearing feedback and thinking, oh, wait, maybe I should do something that way. But every time I listen to those voices, it's not right.
Yeah.
So I'm in this process of really having to stop that. And it's very strange when you're in the habit of listening to those voices to just turn it off.
Yeah, it's just those voices are just noise, and the noise, whether you're getting music or just noise, depends on where you're viewing your reality from. Again, it's the space you're coming from. If the space is the identity, but like I said to you guys all, I also have that view. Like, okay, if I look at my bank account, if I look at the expenses right now, if I get into that right now, I'll be like, oh, where's all this going to come from, right? Because if I look at what's in and what's going out is more than what's going in. It always is. But to me, I don't freak out. I just know that in time, when that time in moment comes, the money or the story will be bending in a way. And all I know is that's paid. Trust me, guys, I just had my aviation business that could not operate for the last 7 months. I have not been operating my business for 7 months. Do you know what that could do to any business, let alone an aviation business? Because my aircraft are due for brand new engines, and I can tell you, like, honestly, if I put you as a fly in the wall, you'd be like, holy shit, like, this stuff really will. But I'm telling you, like everyone, I have the same view. If I look at it, if I look underneath the blanket, I have the same view. Oh, I've got all these expenses, but how's that going to happen? I don't know. I have the same view. I drop the blanket, rise above it. Suddenly, I just don't care. I mean, it's not that I don't care, but I'm not concerned. And the feeling is it will be paid, it will work out. And it always does. I've been living like that for a long time. And I also haven't been working for a long time. Honestly. But you're working now. Okay, all right. Yes, you're right. It's 6 a.m. for me. I am working. I do that 4 or 5 times a week. But anyway, there's lots. This conversation is to be continued, I think. But we are out of time. Thank you, Heather, for your input as well. Are you back in the US or?
Oh yeah, I'm in Washington State. I used to live in LA, but Washington State right now. I feel like I'm going to be moving, but I'll keep you posted.
Excellent. Cool.
Yeah, I was in I went to Portugal for a while. That was awesome too. So catch up sometime.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, I thank you for being part of today's call. And, most of you are still here on the call, so I'm guessing there's things dropping in and it's getting you to ponder and reflect on what's been shared. I look forward to continuing these conversations. I like this new Ask AZ. I like this way that we're giving people the opportunity to join us, whether they're part of the Live It community, which is a free community, by the way. If you're not part of that, you can join the Live It community. If you're listening to this on YouTube or on a podcast, you can join the Live It community. It's free, and then there's a WhatsApp in there, and we can have conversations during the course. But thanks for everyone who's been part of today. You've been awesome. And thank you, Dominique, as well, for your question and your conversation. I look forward to see. I want to see what happens with you, Dominique. So keep us in the loop. Be on the calls, and thank you very much, guys. I'll see you same time, same place, same channel next week. Adios, muchachos.